There's a lot of glamour that people are living on those apps. When I think of glamour, I think of a place like New York City, which is where you live now. You moved there last August from the great state of Connecticut, which I know you adored. And so you live big city life. You grew up in Atlanta or just outside of Atlanta, I believe. So you are familiar with city life. But I'm just kind of curious what New York City, when you first started living there, what it was like for you. Was because I asked because New York City is not anything. I grew up around New York City, so it's kind of everything I've always known it. But you coming from a different part of the country, I'm wondering how it looks to you.
Yeah, so like you said, I grew up like, kind of accustomed to city life. New York City life is its own beast. Like it is just, it's unique to anywhere else in the entire country. It's a lot when you first move here. Like you have to use public transit because if you're gonna drive, there's nowhere to park. If you're gonna park, it's gonna cost you a ton of money. You're gonna sit in crazy traffic. It's just not worth it. You're essentially forced to use public transit. That was the first time ever in my life that I had to rely on public transit to get to and from work. That's crazy in itself. The amount of people that live here is overwhelming to say the least. I mean, when you get into Manhattan, every single corner is covered with a person. Subway, cars are going to be jam packed at almost all hours of the day. Traffic in Georgia, it's rush hour. There's traffic when it makes sense, beginning of the workday, end of the
Right.
workday. New York City, it can be 11 p.m. on a Sunday night and you will be in gridlock traffic. So that, and then of course, the biggest thing that you have to adjust to is how expensive it is. Everything is so expensive. It is not even funny. And you constantly get reminded of it, whether it's paying rent, groceries, going to a bar for a happy hour. It's just basically just shoved in your face month to month. You're just always reminded of how expensive it is to live in this city. And like people who have not lived here, I feel like don't have a full grasp of it. Like if they're like, I want to move to New York City, like you really need to sit down and think about it. Because when I moved to New York City, I got a pretty substantial pay increase. I was like, I'm going to be fine. I am fine. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to be, shaking a cup for change on my next subway trip, but like I am blown away at how expensive it is. It is insane.
It's funny that you say that because I was actually in New York City a couple of weeks ago. I was working at the Spotify offices at the World Trade Center in Manhattan. And I mean, these are incredibly insane offices that a world class company rents out 12 floors of the World Trade Center in. And I was like, I got to move here. I want to work here. This would be so great. And I was texting you during that, showing you pictures, and you very quickly brought me back down to earth and were like, have fun paying $3,000 for a dinky studio apartment and whatever percentage sales tax. So thank you for talking me off the ledge because I would have done
Sales tax, income tax, taxes on taxes. Everything is taxed. Like if you want to register your car, you're going to get your ass taxed. You want car insurance tax. Like it's just, you want to park your car at your own apartment. It's going to cost you money. Everything is going to cost you money here. And it gets to the point where it's like laughable. It's like me and my friends were walking the other day and there was a nice apartment in a pretty nice affluent part of Manhattan. And we were like, kind of guessing how much do you think it costs? How much do you think it costs? So, you pull up the website and we're like, probably 6,800 a month, 10 grand a month. Like, it's just like, who sets these prices? Who said that this 2 bedroom, 2 bath should cost $10,000 a month? Like, and you mentioned it was Spotify, dude. I couldn't even imagine what they pay to rent out those 12
Oh
floors.
gosh. Yeah, I don't want to know. Uh, so was it worth it?
It's tough to say, man. I love my job. I really, really love my job. It's a job that I look forward to the days that I do go in the office. I love the hybrid format of it. I love the opportunities that it's given me. I like the people that I work with. So I love the job. And the payoff of the job is having to live in New York City. So I would say yes, it is worth it because if you ask me right now, you can leave New York City, but you have to quit this job. I would say no. So therein lies the answer. Yes, I would say it is worth it for me.
Okay. So what are some, we've really only said the negatives of living in the city. What are the positives?
Sure. Sure. There are positives. One con that I do have to say before we move on from it that people don't think about, there are no bathrooms anywhere once you leave your house. You have to go into a
Mm,
restaurant and pay for food or whatever to be able to use their restrooms. No convenience stores, no train stations. You can't go into office buildings. None of them have bathrooms. And like multiple times I have been caught like really needing to go to the bathroom and being nowhere near one. And like it just being terrible. That's like something that I feel like no one really knows about until they live here. And it is, yeah, it's awful.
yeah, that's valid.
Pros though, pros. I mean, it's New York City. Like it's one of the most culturally diverse, historically rich, action-packed cities in not just the United States, but the entire world. Like if you hop on Google, you can find something to do within an hour of you pretty much anytime, anywhere, whether it just be going to see an incredible landmark. I mean, there's skyscrapers for days. They have like four of the 20 top building or highest buildings in the world here. There's always something to do, comedy shows. You're going to get the biggest concerts coming here. You know, there's always something to do. I mean, it is a buzzing city. They say the city that never sleeps. That is one thing. People are always like, greatest city on earth. I'm like, that's definitely up for debate. City that never sleeps, that is the truth. Like you can always find something to do here in this city. And that's something that does make it cool. As I've adjusted, I've realized how much fun you can have in this city. And that's something that I'm definitely starting to like about it. It's just unique. I mean, there's so many different pockets of so many different cultures. Like you can be in Chinatown and it is literally like you go to China. Like the advertisements are now in Chinese. Like it's like everything becomes Chinese. It's like you're
Right.
walking through an actual Chinese neighborhood. You can go to Little Italy. You can do anything. The financial district, see Wall Street, everything like that. It's very crazy how fast the neighborhoods can change. And then above all else, I love food, like almost to a fault. Once I get going eating, like it's like I cannot stop. And this place, it like gets me hyped up to think about how many potential restaurants I can try and like just finding restaurants that you are like so excited to go try that you make it an event out of it. You almost make a
Yeah.
day out of going to one of these restaurants is one of my favorite things to do. That's something that like in Connecticut, I think Connecticut got a little too much flack. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I think a lot of people hated way too much on it. But that's something that like you could not do in Connecticut. There's like maybe 8 restaurants in Connecticut that are worth making an event out of going to them. In New York, there's almost one on every block.
Clearly, you've never been to Bar Taco. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, Bar Taco, also in Atlanta, Miami, Denver, LA.
So, as a Southerner, people can hear the Southern twang in your voice. How long do you think you'll stay in this part of the country?
I have no idea. I honestly have no clue. I don't know when I'll leave this job. Uh, I don't know how long this job is going to require me to work in downtown financial district. Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea. I really couldn't even say. If you asked me where I saw myself in 5 years, I would say I couldn't even begin to guess. If you asked me 5 years ago where I was going to be in 5 years, I would have been so ridiculously wrong. That question is such a
Right.
waste of time. Um, I don't want to live the rest of my life in the Northeast. I would love to move west. I would love to move back to the South because that's another con of New York. The weather is terrible.
Yeah, it's not great.
So yeah, I wish I could tell you, but right now it is TBD.